The glass is already slipping when Lena notices the scar. It catches the light just long enough, thin, jagged, carved into Ethan Varella's wrist like something that wasn't meant to fade, and before she even realizes she's moving, she's leaning in across the white linen table, her tray forgotten at her side, her voice barely steady as it leaves her. My mom has that same scar. The words hang there, fragile and sharp at the same time, and for a second nothing happens. Then the crystal tumbler tilts out of Ethan's hand and drops, shattering against the marble floor with a crack that cuts through the low hum of the downtown restaurant. Conversations die mid-sentence, silverware pauses in the air, and every eye in the room shifts, not to the broken glass, but to him. Ethan doesn't move. He sits there in his tailored charcoal suit, fingers still curved as if the glass never left them, his gaze fixed, not on Lena, not on the mess at his feet, but on his own wrist, like he's seeing something he thought was buried. Lena feels it immediately, that shift, like she's stepped into something she doesn't understand but can't step out of anymore, and even as her heart starts to hammer, she doesn't pull back. You heard me, she says, quieter now, because suddenly it feels like the room itself is listening. Ethan's eyes lift slowly, settling on her face with a kind of stillness that isn't calm, it's controlled, too controlled, like something underneath it is trying to break through. You're mistaken. The words are measured, precise, but they land wrong, like they don't belong to him. Lena swallows, her fingers tightening around the edge of her apron, and shakes her head before she can second-guess it. No. Same place. Same shape. She told me how she got it. That's when it changes. Not loudly, not in any way the rest of the room would catch, but something in Ethan's expression tightens, just for a fraction of a second, and it's enough to make Lena's chest go cold. Because that wasn't denial. That was recognition. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees movement, Marco stepping away from the wall near the bar, his posture sharpening as he watches them, his attention no longer casual but focused, deliberate, like he's measuring something. Lena doesn't know who he is, but she knows exactly what he represents. A boundary. And she's already crossed it. Go back to work, Ethan says, his voice lower now, steadier, but thinner than before, stretched tight over something he's trying to hold in place. You're overstepping. The words should end it. They should be enough. But Lena doesn't move. My shift ends in 10 minutes, she says, and her voice trembles just slightly before she steadies it, forcing the words out anyway. If I walk away without asking this, I won't sleep again. A pause settles between them, heavier than the noise that used to fill the room, and for a moment it feels like everything is balanced on whether he stands up or stays seated. Ethan exhales slowly, his gaze drifting, not to her, not to Marco, but back to his wrist, turning it just enough for the scar to catch the light again, like he's confirming something he doesn't want to confirm. Then, finally, he looks at her. Who is your mother? The question is quiet, almost careful, but there's something underneath it now, something that wasn't there before. Lena hesitates. And in that hesitation, something shifts inside her too, because the way he asked it, the way his eyes locked onto hers, it doesn't feel like curiosity anymore. It feels like he already knows the answer. She's Sophia Rios. The name leaves her in a breath she didn't realize she was holding, and the moment it lands, it's like the air itself fractures. Ethan doesn't flinch. He doesn't speak. But the silence that follows is different from before, denser, heavier, like it's filled with something unspoken that no one else in the room can hear. Marco does. Lena sees it in the way he stops moving entirely, his attention snapping fully into place, not on her now, but on Ethan, like he's just realized this isn't a small problem. Because names like that don't matter unless they mean something. And this one clearly does. Lena's pulse is loud in her ears now, her earlier certainty starting to twist into something sharper, more dangerous, but she pushes through it anyway, because she's already too far in to step back. She told me, her voice lowers, almost instinctively, if I ever saw someone with that scar. I had to ask one thing. Ethan's gaze doesn't leave her. Not even for a second. What thing? For the first time, Lena feels it, that weight behind his question, like whatever she says next isn't just going to matter, it's going to change something. She hesitates again, just long enough to feel the eyes around them, the tension tightening, the sense that this moment is bigger than she understands. Then she says it anyway. Why he never came back. The words land softer than she expects, almost swallowed by the room, but the effect is immediate. Ethan's gaze breaks. Just for a second. Just long enough. And in that small, almost invisible shift, Lena feels it with a certainty that makes her stomach drop. This isn't a coincidence. Whatever this is, it's real. And whatever he walked away from, he's been running from it ever since. Ethan's gaze doesn't return right away. It stays off her, angled just slightly toward the table, like the weight of what she said is still settling somewhere behind his eyes, and for a moment, Lena wonders if she's pushed too far, if this is the exact second everything turns against her. Then Marco moves. Not abruptly, not enough to draw the rest of the room back into motion, but close enough that Lena feels it, that shift in space as he steps up beside the table, his presence tightening the air in a way that has nothing to do with broken glass or spilled liquor. That's enough, Marco says, his voice calm, almost polite, but there's a firmness underneath it that doesn't leave room for argument. You've said what you needed to say. Lena doesn't look at him. She keeps her eyes on Ethan, because whatever this is, it's not about the man standing beside him. Answer me, she says, softer now, but steadier than before. Marco lets out a quiet breath through his nose, like patience is something he's choosing, not something he feels. You're not understanding the situation. No, Lena replies, finally glancing at him, I think I am. That's the mistake. It's small, just a shift in tone, but it's enough. Marco's expression doesn't change, but something in his posture settles into place, like a decision has been made without being spoken, and when Lena looks back at Ethan, she sees it reflected there too, not agreement, not quite, but awareness. The balance has shifted. Ethan leans back slightly in his chair, his composure returning in layers, piece by piece, but it's different now, more deliberate, like every movement is being chosen instead of instinctive. You shouldn't be here, he says again, quieter this time, though it doesn't carry the same dismissal as before. Lena shakes her head. You shouldn't have left. The words land before she can stop them. For a second, she wishes she could take them back, not because they're wrong, but because of how they change everything. Marco hears it too. Left, he repeats, his eyes narrowing slightly as he looks between them, recalculating. What exactly is she talking about? Ethan doesn't answer. That silence stretches just long enough to confirm what Marco already suspects, that this isn't random, that whatever Lena just stepped into, it connects to something buried deeper than he's been told. And that's when the situation stops being contained. Marco steps closer, one hand resting lightly on the back of Ethan's chair, casual enough to pass for nothing, but there's control in it, a subtle reminder of who's watching, who's deciding what happens next. We're done here, he says, this time not to Lena, but to Ethan. Ethan doesn't move. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, a reflection shifts, dark, angular, out of place against the soft glow of the restaurant's interior, and Lena catches it without meaning to. A black SUV. Parked too close to the curb. Engine still running. She doesn't know why it matters. But she feels it. Ethan sees it too. His eyes flick just slightly toward the glass, then back again, and whatever control he had just rebuilt fractures, quietly, but completely. Where is she? He asks again, the question sharper now, less careful. Lena hesitates, her pulse quickening as the weight of the moment shifts again, heavier this time, more dangerous. My mom doesn't want to be found, she says. Not by people like you. Marco lets out a short, humorless laugh. Then you shouldn't have walked up to this table. Lena ignores him, her focus locked on Ethan. She told me one thing. Just one. If I ever saw you. Her voice falters, just for a second, and she has to steady herself before finishing. I was supposed to ask why you never came back. Ethan's jaw tightens, the muscle there jumping once before he stills it, but the reaction is enough. It's too real, too immediate to hide. Marco notices. Of course he does. And now his attention sharpens in a different way, not just protective, not just controlling, but curious. Because this is new. This is leverage. You never mentioned anything like this, Marco says quietly, his tone shifting, less patient now. Who is Sophia Rios to you? Ethan doesn't answer. The silence that follows isn't empty, it's loaded, stretched thin with everything he's not saying, and Lena feels it pressing in on her, making it harder to breathe, harder to think. Because whatever this truth is, it's not just painful. It's dangerous. Outside, the SUV door opens. The sound is faint, barely noticeable under normal circumstances, but right now, in the stillness of the room, it cuts through everything. Ethan hears it. Marco hears it. And suddenly, time isn't something they have anymore. We need to go, Marco says, the calm gone now, replaced with something sharper, more urgent. Now. Ethan doesn't stand. His eyes stay on Lena, searching her face like there's something there he's trying to confirm, something he needs to be sure of before he moves. You said she told you how she got that scar, he says. Lena nods slowly. She said it was the night everything went wrong. Another shift. This one deeper. Because that phrase, it lands differently, like it connects to something specific, something real. Ethan exhales, and for the first time since she spoke to him, there's something unguarded in it. Not weakness exactly, but the edge of it, the part he's been holding back. Marco sees that too. And he doesn't like it. Whatever this is, Marco says, his voice lower now, more controlled again, it's not happening here. Lena's fingers curl tighter into her apron, her heart pounding so hard she can feel it in her throat, but she doesn't step back, doesn't break eye contact. Then where, she asks. That's when it locks into place. The question isn't just defiance anymore. It's commitment. And Ethan knows it. Because answering that means choosing. Not just whether to talk. But whether to go back. Marco steps forward, blocking part of Lena's view, his presence no longer subtle. You're done. Walk away. Lena doesn't move. Ethan doesn't look at Marco. Instead, he turns his wrist again, staring at the scar like it's something alive, something that's been waiting for this exact moment to matter again. Outside, another car door shuts. Closer this time. And now there's no mistaking it, whatever's coming, it's almost here. Ethan lifts his head, his decision not spoken yet, but already forming in the way his shoulders settle, in the way his gaze sharpens when it meets Lena's again. Tell me where she is, he says. And this time, it's not a question. It's a line being drawn. Because if she answers, there's no walking away from what comes next. Then say it, Lena whispers, her voice no longer steady, no longer defiant, but carrying something heavier now, something closer to breaking as the pressure closes in around them. Say where you were, say why you didn't come back. The question hangs between them, and Ethan feels it settle deep, somewhere beneath the practice control, beneath the years of distance he's built like armor, and for a second, just a second, the restaurant fades, the low hum of voices dulling into something far away as another sound presses in. Rain. Not here, not now, but sharp against memory, cold and relentless, soaking through fabric, turning pavement slick under rushing footsteps. Ethan's fingers curl slightly against the table, the polished surface grounding him as the image pushes further, clearer, dim streetlight reflecting in water, the metallic tang of blood thick in the air, and a voice, her voice, urgent, close, refusing to let him stop moving. Stay with me. He blinks, but it doesn't clear. Lena's standing in front of him, but for a moment, just a fracture of time, she isn't the one he sees. Marco notices. Of course he does. This is done, Marco says, sharper now, stepping forward, his hand closing more firmly on the back of Ethan's chair as if he can physically pull him out of whatever this is. We're leaving. Ethan doesn't respond. Because it's not just memory anymore, it's weight, pressing in, dragging something long buried up to the surface whether he wants it or not. She told me you ran, Lena says, the words quieter now, but cutting deeper than anything she said before. Not that you couldn't come back, that you chose not to. That lands differently. Not accusation, something worse. Recognition. Ethan exhales slowly, the breath uneven despite his effort to steady it, and when he finally looks at her again, there's no distance left in his gaze, no detachment, just something raw, something unfinished. She shouldn't have told you anything, he says. Lena shakes her head, a small, almost disbelieving movement. She didn't want to. I had to push her, and even then, she stopped halfway, like she couldn't say it out loud. Her voice tightens. Like it would make it real. Another flash. A door half open, light spilling through into darkness, her silhouette framed against it, one hand pressed against her side, blood seeping through her fingers as she forces a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Go. The memory snaps back just as quickly, but it leaves something behind this time, a crack in the control Ethan's been holding onto, something Marco can see now, something he understands immediately for what it is. Weakness. And in Marco's world, weakness doesn't stay contained. Who is she to you? Marco asks again, quieter now, more precise, his tone no longer edged with impatience but with calculation. Because whatever this is, it's affecting your judgment. Ethan doesn't answer him. He's still looking at Lena, still caught in that narrowing space where past and present are no longer cleanly separated, where the lines blur just enough to make the truth impossible to ignore. She stayed, Lena says, her voice trembling now despite herself. Whatever happened that night, she stayed. She told me she couldn't leave you there. The air shifts. This time, it's not just memory, it's alignment. Because that version of the story, it doesn't match the one Ethan's been living with. His jaw tightens, but not in denial, in something closer to realization, like a piece he's been missing has just been forced into place. That's not how it happened, he says, though there's no conviction behind it, only the echo of something he's told himself for too long. Lena takes a small step closer, the distance between them shrinking despite everything pressing against it. Then tell me how it did. For a moment, no one speaks. The noise of the restaurant creeps back in at the edges, the clink of glass, a low laugh from across the room, but it feels wrong now, out of place against the tension tightening at their table. Outside, movement passes across the glass again. Closer. Ethan sees it. Marco does too. And this time, Marco doesn't wait. We're out of time, he says, the control snapping back into his voice as he steps forward fully, placing himself between Ethan and Lena, not just blocking the view, but drawing a line. Whatever this is, you deal with it later. Later. The word lands like something hollow. Because Ethan knows what later means. It means distance. It means silence. It means walking away, again. Lena feels it too, the shift, the moment slipping, and panic edges into her voice before she can stop it. If you walk out that door. Ethan stands. The movement is sudden enough that Marco's hand slips from the chair, his attention snapping fully back, recalculating again, adjusting to a situation that's no longer following his control. For a second, Ethan doesn't move past him. He just stands there, caught in the narrowing space between two outcomes, the weight of everything pressing in, what he knows, what he's avoided, what's waiting just outside those doors. Rain. Blood. A promise never finished. Lena's breathing is uneven now, her hands clenched at her sides as she watches him, waiting, not for an answer, not anymore, but for a choice. Marco shifts slightly, angling his body, ready to move, to pull Ethan back into motion, back into the world where decisions are clean and controlled and don't leave cracks like this behind. But Ethan doesn't follow. Not yet. Instead, he turns his head just enough to look at Lena again, and when he speaks, his voice is lower now, rougher around the edges of something he can't fully contain. She was the one who made sure I got out, he says. Not the other way around. The truth settles heavily between them. Not complete. Not enough. But irreversible. Lena's expression shifts, something breaking open behind her eyes as the pieces start to move into a shape she didn't expect, something that doesn't fit the story she's been holding onto. Then why didn't you go back, she asks, barely above a whisper. Ethan doesn't answer. Because outside. Footsteps approach the entrance. Measured. Deliberate. And now there's no space left for hesitation. Marco's voice cuts in, sharper than before. We leave. Now. Ethan looks toward the door. Then back at Lena. The past is no longer buried. The present is no longer contained. And whatever choice he makes in the next second, it won't just decide where he goes. It will decide who pays for it. Ethan doesn't move when Marco says it again. Not right away. The command hangs there, sharp and final, but it doesn't land the same anymore. It doesn't settle into him the way it used to, and that's the first thing Marco feels shift, even before Ethan lifts his hand, even before anything is said. Because for the first time, the decision isn't waiting on permission. Ethan's gaze drifts, not to the door, not to the figures now visible through the glass as they approach the entrance, but down, to his wrist, to the weight that's been there so long it stopped feeling like anything at all. The watch catches the light when he turns it slightly, the polished surface clean, untouched, a quiet piece of order in a moment that's already breaking apart. He stares at it longer than he should. Long enough that Lena's breath slows without her realizing it, long enough that Marco shifts his stance, tension threading into something tighter, more controlled. Ethan, Marco says, quieter now, but edged with something harder. Don't make this complicated. Ethan's thumb slides beneath the clasp. There's a small click, barely audible, but it carries, cutting clean through the noise of the room, through the low murmur of conversations that haven't stopped, that don't know what's about to happen. The watch comes loose in his hand. For a second, he just holds it there, feeling its weight without wearing it, like it belongs to someone else now, like it always did. Then he sets it down on the table. Not carefully. Not dramatically. Just, leaves it there. Marco's eyes flick to it, then back to Ethan, and something unspoken passes through that space between them, recognition, immediate and absolute. This isn't hesitation. It's departure. You're walking away from more than you understand, Marco says, the words low, controlled, but no longer certain. Ethan finally looks at him. I know exactly what I'm walking away from. There's no anger in it, no challenge, just a quiet certainty that lands heavier than anything raised in volume could. Behind them, the restaurant door opens. Cool air slips in, carrying the faint scent of rain from outside, and with it, the presence that's been closing in finally crosses the threshold, no longer distant, no longer abstract. Lena feels it before she sees it, that tightening at the edge of the room, that shift in attention that doesn't belong to her or Ethan or Marco, but changes everything anyway. Her voice comes out softer than she expects. If we leave now. Ethan turns back to her. The space between them feels different now, no longer stretched thin by questions, but anchored by something heavier, something already decided. Where is she? He asks again. Not pressing. Not demanding. Just steady. Lena swallows, her throat tight as everything she's been holding on to narrows into this single moment, this single answer that can't be taken back once it's spoken. She's by the river, she says. South side, near the old bridge. The words settle into the space between them, and this time, they don't just carry meaning, they carry direction. There's no hesitation left after that. Marco steps forward, sharper now, the control slipping just enough to show what's underneath. You don't get to make this choice. Not here, not like this. Ethan doesn't look at him. That's exactly when you make it. And then he moves. Not toward Marco. Not toward the structure that's held him in place for years. But toward Lena. It's a small shift in distance, barely a step, but it redraws everything, the alignment, the risk, the line that's just been crossed without permission. Lena doesn't step back. She feels it fully now, the weight of what she's pulled into motion, the way it presses against her chest, heavy and irreversible, but she doesn't look away. Outside, the figures from the SUV move closer to the windows, their reflections stretching across the glass, distorted by light and distance, but unmistakably focused. Inside, nothing else changes. Glasses still clink, voices still hum, but it all feels thinner now, like a surface about to break. Marco exhales slowly, the sound measured, but there's no patience left in it. You won't make it to that bridge. Ethan glances toward the door, then back at the table, at the watch, still resting there, untouched, marking time for something he's no longer part of. Maybe not, he says. It isn't defiance. It isn't bravado. It's acceptance. And that lands harder than anything else. For a moment, no one moves. The space holds, stretched between what was and what's already begun to unravel, and in that stillness, Lena realizes something she hadn't before, not about him, not about her mother, but about the distance between them that no answer is going to close. Because whatever happened back then, it didn't end. It just kept moving. Ethan reaches for the back of a chair as he passes, steadying it slightly without thinking, the same way he had when he first sat down, the same quiet control in the gesture, but now it leads somewhere else. Not back. Forward. Toward the door. Toward the reflection of movement waiting on the other side. Lena follows. She doesn't look back at the table, at the glass still smeared from where she dropped it, at the watch left behind like something shed without ceremony, but she feels it, the absence already settling in behind them. Marco doesn't follow immediately. He stands there a second longer, eyes fixed on the watch, on the space Ethan has just stepped out of, as if measuring something that can't be recalculated. Then he turns. Not to stop them. Just to watch. Ethan pushes the door open, the cool air hitting harder now, sharper, carrying the distant rush of the river somewhere beyond the streets, beyond the lights. For a second, he pauses there, not because he's unsure, but because this is the last moment that belongs to what he was. Then he steps out. Lena beside him. The door swings slowly behind them, the sound soft as it closes, sealing the warmth of the restaurant inside, leaving the watch on the table, ticking quietly in a room that no longer holds the man who wore it.